everybody, and welcome to Power Poppy. I'm Allison Cope, and today we are going to be making an interactive card with some butterflies. Let's get coloring. So today I'm going to start off with these 4 images. This is the Tulips and Daffodils is from the Natural Beauty stamp set. The large butterfly is from A Soothing Sympathy, and the 2 smaller butterflies are from Pure Prairie Spirit. I'm going to start off with our greenery on the bottom. Let's get you a little closer. And I'm going to start with YG61. And I'm going to do all of the greenery in the same colors. I'm not going to bother shading anything differently. I'm just going to keep it very, very simple today. And so I'm starting with my lightest. And I can go pretty quickly. Putting down my base coat, getting my paper wet. I'm going to go to my darkest tone, which is YG67. And we're going to kind of fill in those sketchy marks, which Marcy has drawn right into her image. And that basically indicates where you're going to put all your shadows. So this is a great stamp to start coloring with if you're a newbie. And we're just going to color in all of those darker sketchy marks indicating shadow. There we go. We got a smaller leaf in behind. There we go. Very, very simple. Then I'm going to go into our mid-tone, which is a YG63 or YG63. And we're going to kind of blend down the centers. I'm going to keep the outer parts of the leaves light. Like I said, this is going to be fairly simple coloring. We're going to leave it really simple. I am going to put a touch of shading with our mid-tone just up the base of those. They're called Breezy Cowslips. Cool name, eh? Okay, so I'm going to finish off the rest of our greenery, and then we'll come back and we'll start coloring our butterflies. Leaves, I'm just using a flicking motion. I want to leave some fairly light and white highlights where there are no lines indicated. So I started with my YG61, and then I'm going to go back to my darkest, which is YG67, and I'm going to use this fairly sparingly, just a touch in those darker spots. Just super lightly. Then I'm going to use my medium tone to combine that dark and light. Again, I'm leaving those areas that indicate that they're lighter by less lines, leaving that much lighter. There we go. So I'm going to do the rest of my tulip leaves just exactly the same. We're going to color in our blooms. I'm going to start with our daffodils, and I'm going to start with a Y04. not being perfect with these. I'm just getting down base coat. Because this marker is a little on the dry side. Okay, we're going to add some shading with a Y15. I'm just going to start on the inside. I don't want to make this too orange because I want to make the trumpet part of the flower orange. So I'm just playing up some of the shadows here. There we go. Like I said, very, very simple. And then I'm going to do our trumpet part in, I'm going to do a base of Y17. This is one of my favorite colors of orange. I'm going to color right over the insides because I can always go back and put some white gel pen over them. Okay, let's add some deeper, darker dimension with a Y38. There we go. Very, very simple. Could even go in with a darker shade, but I'm going to leave it like that. Now our breezy cowslips, I'm also going to do in a lighter yellow. I'm going to start with a Y00. If you're looking for inspiration, Marcella always puts a detailed description of what flowers are in the images, so you can actually Google that specific flower, which is fantastic because, I mean, some of the flowers you can easily identify, or at least I can, but there's some flowers that are not native to where I live, so I still have to look up things like that. So I had to look up what a breezy cowslip looked like. And what I saw was mostly yellow flowers. So that's why I'm doing yellow. Go. Just putting that base color down. And I want something a little darker. We'll go Y11. Keeping my coloring very, very simple today. And the yellow cowslips tend to have kind of these pretty little orange centers to them. Actually, they kind of look like that as far as their design. So, just gonna put a little there. There's only two of them that are actually like slightly open. So I'm gonna bring my Y17 back in again and just lightly touch in the centers of those two exposed opens, and I'm going to just blend that just a tiny bit to soften the color. And now we need to color in our tulips. I think what I'll do is I will make them orangey red so that it ties in, it doesn't go too off script from the colors that we already have on the panel. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with a YR12, and we'll put, I'll put a base coat completely of this color, and then we'll come in and bring in a red, but not in like a true deep dark red. I think we'll just bring in like a soft, not so harsh red. So like I said, easy coloring, getting our base down, filling all of those petals in. And what we're going to do with this particular image here that we're coloring in now, I'm going to use a coordinating die, and we're going to cut it out. And it's going to be kind of like the bottom of our card. Okay, there's our Y12 or YR12. And I'm going to bring in, let's try an R05. And what we're going to do is we're going to flick. You know how they kind of look painted sometimes? So that's what I'm going to do for this. So it still maintains the orange, but it's a little bit different from everything else. Come over here and do the same. Okay, now we do need some shading down in there, so I'm going to go in with my, my YR14 and just try and add a little bit of depth to the areas where there would be a little bit of shading and shadow, just to help with our image here. Could probably go in with a third color too, or you can do as I'm doing and just layer it a couple of times. So it looks a little bit better. We'll do the cup on that flower because they're concave. A little shading underneath, a little bit of shading where it overlaps. Okay, I went outside the lines, so I'm just going to use my Copic blender, which is your 0 marker. See if I can push that down into the paper so I can hide it. Okay, I'll let it dry and then we'll do our ground layer here. I like the E70s for ground, for dirt and things like that. So I'm going to start off with the latest here, E70, and just going over kind of where Marcy has indicated there's soil and pebblies. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with our next one, E71. And we're just going to put in the shadows underneath. I'm just I'm not even really doing anything other than just kind of skipping across the paper here. I'm not going to blend this, I don't think. I'm also just highlighting some of that pebble texture too. Just highlighting some of those spots there. Okay, I am going to go back to this. So I'm not totally happy. So I'm going to bring in that Y05 and just put ever so slightly, just a bit of it in my shadows. Same with this one. Okay, then we're going to go back to that Y38. And I'm going to just blend that Y05. So it's not just a line there. And that will help create depth there. I think that's a little bit better. It looks a little bit deeper in color, which is cool. Okay, so we've got this. let's go on to coloring our butterflies. So we're going to do kind of a gradient here. Right now I'm not worried about any of the spots because we're going to go in and use a white gel pen. So I'm just flicking in from the part of his wing that is closest to his body. There we go. Well, that's Y19. We're going to go in with our YR15. And I'm going to kind of flick it kind of in between because we're going to have one more color of orange here towards the edges. We're going to blend this, so I'm just going to leave it like that for the time being. Let's go to our darker orange, our YR68. And I am going to go right out to the tips. And this one, I'm just going to flick. So it kind of goes slightly in. I'm not worried about how far, because we are going to blend this again. And same with the second wing here. Because this wing is shown as compressed, your flick marks shouldn't be as long. Okay, I'm going to go back to our lightest, which again is our Y19. And I'm just going to go over that. And you know what? That's blended enough for me, so I think we'll just leave it there. Let's go in and darken. Go in and darken all the black areas. I'm actually going to let's do the bottom of his wing in yellow. So I am going to try and keep those dots white. There we go. And I'm going to also do his body. Okay, we're going to go with the Y19, and I saw this cool butterfly that had just kind of like a couple of orange stripes on it. Just add a little bit of depth to that. And then we're going to go our deeper, darker. Oops, I went over one of those. It's hard when you're not paying attention to the tip of your marker. I'm going to go all around that one little leaf looking. And then we'll put in some red down that little fella right there. Okay, so let's do let's do our gel pen. So this is a number 10 or a bold. I'm just going to start it by warming up the tip on the back of my hand. I'm going to go in and fix any of my boo-boos. I think we'll go in and do the dots, like the mini dots on this one, almost like a monarch. There we go. And let's go into the center of our, I know they wouldn't normally be white, but let's just make them white for today. And I think that's all I'm going to do. Let's go back and add a little bit more color here. Maybe let's go in with that Y19 a little bit. And we'll just do a tiny bit here, and that's it. Just needed a little touch more color. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to die cut this out because it has coordinating dies, and then I'm going to fussy cut these guys out, and we'll go on with the rest of our project. Okay, I have my Natural Beauties piece die cut, fabulous dies, and then I've also fussy cut all my butterflies out. I left a white border on them just so that it matches this piece, and because of the detail on the legs, if I go to trim it down to attempt to cut in right next to the line, I'm going to lose all that detail. So it's just so much easier just to leave a white outline. Okay, let's go and create our background, and then we'll get on with actually putting this stuff on the card. For the focal part of our card, what I did is I cut a panel 4 by 5 1/4, and then I took a big circle die, and I just, even though it's not a full one, I'm okay with that, I cut out the rest of a circle, and this is what we're going to use as our focal point. So now what we're going to do is create a sky. I'm just going to put it on a scrap piece of paper here, using a cloud stencil and some distress inks. And we're going to start with our softest one, which I'm going to go with the Scattered Straw. And I'm going to go lightest to darkest, I think. And I'm going to use a blending brush here. Okay, so I want kind of a soft and subtle background. So I'm not going to go too dark or too heavy. And we're going to graduate down to a darker color. Now I just rotated the stencil to get a different formation of clouds. And let's do one more in this color. There's something on my background there. I try and tilt them a little bit too, so I don't always get the same angle. I'm not even going to finish that one. Okay, so let's go to our mustard seed, which is a little bit brighter. Let's go, this is kind of the 4th side. And there we go. So this is actually a little bit brighter, and I'm okay with that. Should have gone the other way around, but who cares? There we go. Sometimes I join them up, so I find like a circle that kind of fits at the end, and that of course creates another cloudscape, so it doesn't look the same as something else. Or I use kind of a partial, so I kind of line it up and just go into the other one, so it does that. I'm going to do one more line of this color here, and then we're going to switch to Wild Honey, which is a little bit more orangey. Okay, and don't know how much of this color we're going to see, but we'll find out when we put all our stuff on. But I am going to go down to the bottom just in case. All the way to the bottom. I know this is harder to see just because we're using yellows and light oranges, so just bear with me, we're almost done. Whoop. Okay. Set those inks aside, and hopefully you can kind of see. And of course, the reason why I didn't do blue for my clouds is because I wanted to maintain that color theme. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to place this towards the bottom of our circle. It may go down quite far. And we're going to then bring these little guys in. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these rotate so it looks like they're flying. So we're going to find a position first for them. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to take just a pencil here and just going to put an X mark where the middle of my butterflies are, like that. What I want to do now is I want to take my teeny tiny circle dies and we're going to create a small hole. All right, so my circle dies here. You know what? I think I will actually use the teeniest, tiniest. So what I'll do is I'll find the center. I'm going to use a piece of washi tape and I reuse mine. That's why it's got ink on it. I'm going to take this to my die cutting machine, die cut it out, and then do the same for the other areas. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to attach our butterflies to our background. See, we got our 3 little fellows all cut out there. And what I'm going to use right now is some pennies. We don't use pennies here in Canada anymore. And we're going to use some of my favorite things, replenishments, which are these kind of plastic discs. You can get them in different shapes. The other one is kind of oval-ish. And we're going to use some mini glue dots as well, just because they're fast. So first thing I'm going to do is slip a penny underneath. I'm going to grab a mini glue dot. I want to find kind of the bottom of the penny-ish. I'm going to put a glue dot down. Then I'm going to take one of the circular discs and I'm just going to snap it in. So I'm going to do it for the other 2. Now that they are there, I'm going to then use another glue dot, put it on top of our little round plastic disc, and then put my butterflies on top. Okay, so that looks good. And again, these are going to move around, so I mean, whatever position you put them in, they are going to rotate. That's just the nature of it. Okay. Oop. This glue dot does not want to cooperate. Oh. And now it's stuck. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we got our 3 fellas. They are attached. Pennies are on the back. And now we're going to flip this over. And this is where you need some foam tape. Now, the discs are fairly substantial in thickness. And because we want to make them move and groove, we're going to double up our foam tape. So I'm just going to take my foam strip and just lay it back on itself like such. So now I have a double thickness, and what I want to do is I want to bump this up, and so I'm going to start kind of on the bottom of the circle. Fuzzy that's not cooperating, but and I'm going to put foam in and around here, but you got to be really careful about how close you put the foam to the pennies. So I'm actually going to cut thinner strips That's the nice thing about this 3M foam tape. I really like it because you can basically cut it very easily down to whatever size you need. So I am going to cut that end off. Okay. If you take off the backer paper of both sides, this will bend. So I'm going to start it kind of on the top of the circle. There we go. And I can do the same with the other piece. I cut it down to thirds and it's super easy to use. I use my Tim Holtz scissors because they cut it like butter. There's one side and the other, and then you can get inventive. So cut that. Cut that. Put a little bit of a base there. Set this aside for 2 seconds. So I have an A2 sized top folding card. Crease that. And like I said, this is not the same width as my card. This is 1/4 of an inch shorter. So I'm going to put it slightly more towards the top. There we go. And I have got some kind of stuff on the top of my card. Now, this is just a white eraser. You can try that first. If it doesn't work, then you can use a sand eraser like this one here for a mono. Now, like I said, this one is built for the bottom. So part of it is on this, and then the other bottom piece is actually hanging. So we need a little bit of foam tape, and remember we used double-sided. So I'm gonna create a double-sided with just one piece, trying to make it even. It's not going to be perfect, doesn't matter, not going to see it. There we go, another piece of double-sided. I think we'll just flip that over. We will, oh, so close. Just trim off the excess. I'm going to pull the backer off that. And then I'm going to bring in some wet adhesive because I think it just works better in this case. Try to get all up into any fine detailed parts like this piece here. And I bet you I'm going to have to trim it off, but that's okay. Okay, wet adhesive on. I'm not going to put this totally on the bottom. I'm going to kind of let the foam tape dictate. So there, it's butted up against that circle. And I'm going to leave it without a sentiment. That way I can make it anything I want. And if you look, this little guy seems stuck here. There. And they will all move for you. They'll even turn because there's nothing keeping them in the same position. So yeah, something fun to create. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I will hopefully see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.